Hello to you and welcome to Mondays with Mike. It's Monday and I'm Mike, so I think I'm in the right place. Today is National Weather Person's Day. Yes, that's a real thing. And I want to thank my mother who sent me a National Weather Person's Day card in the mail. They make those. They actually make those. We also just got a delivery in the weather office of Bluebell ice cream. And so I want to give a shout out to Bluebell because I was throwing a little bit of shade during the morning show because there were a couple of years. Well, there were many years that Bluebell brought us ice cream and then it kind of fell off for a few years. And so I said, oh, there's a company, not going to say any names, that used to bring us ice cream. Well, sure enough, Officer Dennis just delivered me a cooler of cinnamon twist ice cream from Bluebell. So I'm not going to bring the gallon home, partially because I don't think that the kids will eat it, but because I don't want it in the house. I'm being strict. I'm going to drop a few pounds. I mean, I've been working out so hard in the gym and I don't want to mess it up by eating a gallon of cinnamon twist, but I do appreciate it. So thank you, Bluebell. And I am probably going to take home the mocha almond something or other that they put in there too. That does sound really good. So thank you to Bluebell. All right. The story of the day, probably the story of the week, possibly the story of the month in the world of weather is what is happening out here in California. Now, it's not often that we kind of take a break from Texas and check out what's happening in California because, we like to focus obviously on our local forecast. And the main thing is, it's windy out there today, but really the forecast looks, other than the wind, pretty quiet, pretty tranquil around here for the next few days. This is a very serious situation that's happening in Southern California. Very serious because we have this phenomenon called the atmospheric river that's coming in. You've probably heard the term. Sometimes the terms come and go. There's another term called the Pineapple Express that sometimes is associated with this type of flow. Pineapple Express just means it's this long current of humid air that flows up from around Hawaii. And pineapples grow in Hawaii, and so they call it the Pineapple Express. And it moves over mostly to California, sometimes Oregon and Washington State, and dumps a lot of rain on that area and also a lot of snow. So what you see right here is a look at flooding potential. So where you have that purple coming down, wait, somebody's calling me. Somebody from Channelview is calling me, and I don't know anybody from Channelview. So I will call them back. But shout out to Channelview. The purple color that you see there, I guess it's magenta. That is where there's the highest risk for flooding. And in fact, it's already taking place. Like I said, very serious. This is like Houston style, pretty serious flooding. Water rescues, evacuations from homes, submerged cars. Although they get things over there that we don't get here, like mudslides, rock slides, things like that are coming down off of some of the hills. They're talking about Hollywood Hills. Look, I don't know the area very well. I know that it's a historic place where a lot of famous people live. And I used to hear about it in music all the time because I think the Eagles, spent time out there, and Jackson Brown and the Byrds and all these, you know what I mean? It was a scene, but they are being just totally flooded on out right now. So, what is the atmospheric river? The definition of atmospheric river is that it is a narrow channel of humid air that's across a large thickness of the atmosphere. For example, we get humid air here all the time, every summer day, right? But in this case, we're talking about something that resembles a river. So it's long, it's relatively narrow, and it covers sometimes thousands of miles and carries moist air generally from the tropical areas up to non-tropical areas, which would be like California. The problem in this scenario is that it's not moving. Yesterday, downtown Los Angeles, the campus of the University of Southern California had the third highest rainfall total for any February day since 1877. So all the Februarys here over the last 150 years, this was the third greatest rainfall total on any February day. So that's a lot. And it's really basically what they got was like a month's worth of rain in a day. In fact, even a month's worth of rain probably in like 12 hours. And that's just too much for the ground to handle over there. And because of the terrain, you get flash flooding and things like that. So do we get hit with atmospheric rivers? Not like this. This is mostly a Pacific Ocean type of phenomenon. But I guess you could make the case that like in a situation like Hurricane Harvey or maybe Tropical Storm Allison, where you have a really slow moving area of low pressure and you get this wind flow coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. I think in certain situations, you could probably refer to it as an atmospheric river. But in this case, it really has been confined to California. Now, what's setting this thing up is a dip in the jet stream here. So that's what we call a trough. A dip is a trough. And then when it comes up, it's called a ridge. And in general, if you're beneath the ridge, you're going to have some pretty nice weather. And if you're ahead of the trough, and ahead we mean to the east of the trough, then you're going to have some not so nice weather. In fact, the middle of the trough is what's called the trough axis. And sometimes we'll draw that as like a dotted line, a dashed line. And if you're on the back side of the axis of the trough, on the west side, you usually get colder air coming in. And if you're on the east side of it, that's when you get rain and, wind, snow is another concern there too. A lot of the blue that you see showing up here indicates not just snow, but very heavy snow, like maybe 2 or 3 feet of snow. They're also, I was looking at the weather out of Nevada and Colorado, and there are actually avalanche warnings that are in effect out there. It looks like rainy weather for Las Vegas, but then in some of the areas that are, I guess, rural, and there's not much there, north of Las Vegas, very high winds. And then where it gets really mountainous to the north and east of Las Vegas, there are avalanche warnings that are in effect. So here's the outlook for later on today. Again, you get this wind flow right there, the jet stream that's carrying all this moisture, not just flooding along the coastline, but the really super heavy snow inland. And then that system just drops a little farther to the south and continues to pound Southern California and also continues to send this deep stream of moisture up into the Rocky Mountains and across the southwestern U.S. So a very good question to ask would be, is this coming our way, right? Because most of the time when we see these big weather systems in California, they end up moving toward Texas. In this case, it looks like the answer is mostly no. I say mostly no because we could see some increased shower activity coming up Thursday and Friday, but it doesn't look like it's going to be anything resembling what they're seeing out in California. Heading into tomorrow, it still looks like heavy rain for California, although the focus of the rain shifts over here to Nevada and western parts of Arizona heading into Tuesday morning. And then there's going to be a flooding threat here across Arizona, continuing really heavy mountain snow out in the Rocky Mountains. And then like around the LA area, they could start to get a little bit of a break coming up on Tuesday. They're not completely done with the rain, but I can see that cleanup is going to be major league. I mean, it is going to be terrible. And there's already been at least one fatality. I know a tree fell on somebody, and probably there will be more coming in as this heavy rain continues to fall. Meteorologist John Dawson coming into the
greetings
to the Weather Center right now. So again, here's a look at where it's heading into Tuesday, and it continues to be just a big setup for the western part, like the western third of the United States. For the rest of the day today, it is going to be, literally like life or death in a lot of locations out there, not to make it sound like it's worse than it is, but it is literally that bad with some of the rainfall amounts that they are getting out there. Heading into Tuesday. So today, total washout. Heading into Tuesday, the threat for flooding is down a little bit. We've gone from that extreme, that magenta color that was right there. We've gone from that down to a slight chance for additional flooding, but all that ground is going to be saturated. They already have mud, everywhere, mud down on the roadways and all of that stuff. And so any additional rain is not going to be a good deal. And heading here into an area from Phoenix westward and back up to Las Vegas too, there is going to be a slight chance for some flooding heading into the day on Tuesday. Total rainfall potential, you'll see this legend over here, and you'll see the green category here. The bright green is what, 4 inches of rain. Sorry, these eyes. Yes, I got to put my glasses on sometimes. Yeah, about 4 inches of rain for the bright green, right? And you see some of that bright green showing up here on the map. The overall setup, when we take a look at the jet stream, puts us right there under the influence where you're below the jet stream. You're to the south of the jet stream, so you're not really feeling many of the effects from the jet. We're also in the situation, it's actually kind of neat to see, where the jet stream takes this big dip in the west, and then it comes up over Texas, and then it takes another big dip in the east. And that's what you're seeing here with that L over by Pensacola, Florida. It is what's primarily responsible for the reason we're so windy today. The area around that low pressure, we have what's called a tight pressure gradient or a large pressure gradient, which sounds fancy. All it means is the difference between high pressure and low pressure. That's what pushes the air along. And the bigger the difference is, the delta between the high pressure and the low pressure, generally the stronger the wind is going to flow. So that's what's happening here around that area of low pressure. And it's why we were so windy yesterday and why we've been pretty darn windy this morning too, with Galveston seeing 40 mile per hour wind gusts so far today. We're not in any sort of excessive rain outlook. There may be some heavy downpours today. This is like around the mouth of the Mississippi River, Grand Isle, Louisiana area. Florida also could be in for some isolated heavy downpours, and then heading up to coastal sections of the Carolinas. This low is going to move away from us, and because of that, it's going to have less of an influence on our weather. So what that means is we're going to have less wind heading into Tuesday and Wednesday, especially Tuesday. As this low moves over here by Tampa, we're going to have much less wind. In fact, probably a cold morning with low temperatures getting down to the 40s, middle 40s, with very little wind. And then tomorrow just looks awesome because we're not going to have those cold north winds coming in. We'll have low humidity and some sunshine and high temperatures getting close to 70 degrees. So that is terrific news. From here, this low continues to move off the east coast of the U.S., which once again means it's not going to have that much of an influence on our weather anymore. And we should transition to a bit of a quieter pattern. So over the next 2 days, you'll see here, this starts with today, where we have those north winds coming in. And then if we take a look ahead at tomorrow, here we go. Again, you'll see the rain and the cloud cover, by the way, clears out, and we'll be under the influence of that right there. See, that's what you call a ridge. So as long as that ridge is in place, we're looking for pretty nice weather in the forecast. So sorry, I was looking over because I was going to show you the 7-day, but I don't have that set up. But chance for some rain coming in for Mardi Gras. For Galveston Mardi Gras, in fact, about a 60% rain chance coming up on Saturday. We have plans to go to our annual sort of pilgrimage to the Lafayette Mardi Gras. And that is it's where my wife is from. It's where we met. We don't have as much family over there anymore because they all moved here. So they're all Texans now. But we still go over there for Mardi Gras every year. And it's not, if you haven't been there, it's much more traditional. So it's not wild, there's nobody flashing anybody. There's nothing like, it's not New Orleans. When people think of Mardi Gras, they think of New Orleans. Although from what I understand, it started in Mobile, Alabama. I didn't know that. But it's all related to like the carnival season that they do in a lot of other countries, like in Brazil, and they do it down in the Caribbean. But Lafayette is very, very traditional. Like they have a children's parade that we don't really go to anymore. We go to it when my nephews come with us, but they're not coming this year. And that's fun because they throw toys and things like that. But we usually go to the nighttime parades. The Crew de Bonaparte is the big one we always go to. But it's dangerous. I mean, they throw beads at you like a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. And if that hits you in the face, it's terrible. So I'm always afraid that that my girls are going to get hit. So I'm constantly, ready to grab that. But we usually meet some people there. Like I think last year, might have been the year before last, I actually got to meet up with my friend and my mentor, Rob Perillo, who's the chief meteorologist at KATC in Lafayette. He's the Louisiana legend. He's the best of the best. And so I got to see him at the parade. And the funny thing is, like, everybody in Lafayette knows him. He's like the most famous person in Lafayette. So I'm walking along with him, and all you hear is, "Hey, Rob Perillo," and stuff like that. It was funny. So I got to see him, and there's other friends in there that I try to sort of bump into, especially if we're at the parade and stuff. So that's our plan. It's a lot of fun. We're also, I'm looking forward to this. So we're staying at an Airbnb, which, sometimes is fun. We've outgrown hotels. I don't know if you find yourself in the situation, but we've outgrown hotels. Hotels right now are just, we can't fit in the hotel anymore. We just don't have the accommodations. We've got two teenagers and an almost teenager, all three girls, my wife, and me. And nobody wants me, you know what I mean? Like, they just want me off to the side. Like when it comes for bedtime and stuff, I usually just find a sofa somewhere and just sleep on it so everybody can have their privacy. Plus, what happens is I'm on this early schedule. Like, my alarm goes off at 2 every day. For all these years, my alarm goes off at 2, except for the weekends. And so even if we go on vacation, man, like 8 or 9 o'clock rolls around, I'm ready to go to sleep. Everybody else is still up, ready to have a good time. Or as they say in Lafayette, pass a good time. So that's another reason why the Airbnbs work out. But here's my point. We got this Airbnb that is on property where it's like separated from the main house, but it's like a farm type of atmosphere. It's like on 50 acres, and they have dogs. I think they have 3 dogs and 2 or 3 cats, and they have ducks. They have a bunch of ducks around and a bunch of other animals. They might have geese, but they have like all these animals. And that's my dream come true, right? I want to have a place like that one day where I got some cats laying around on the porch and all that stuff. So anyway, that's where we're going. We're going to stay there for 2 nights. We're going to try to take a tour of my wife's alma mater, which is University of Louisiana Lafayette, which used to be called USL, Southwest Louisiana, which, shout out in the comments if you know USL or ULL. I might try to take a tour. We haven't been on any college tours yet, and I just want the girls to start off there because it's like a medium-sized school. There's like 10,000 students, and maybe they could get a scholarship. I mean, my girls are excellent students. Like, I was the worst student compared to them. Like, they are on top of things, and everything is A's and AP and just everything. So of course we're going to be looking at Texas and Texas A&M and all that stuff too. But I wanted them to get a sense of what's over there because their mom went there, and we actually got married on the campus because there's a Catholic church there right on the campus of UL. So that's where we got married. So it's kind of neat. I'm like, well, don't you want to go see where mommy, daddy got married? So anyway, that's what we're doing over there. And other than that, that's what we got going on for Mardi Gras. I hope you guys are having a great week. We're going to enjoy, hopefully, a few days of some quiet weather. It was quite a January. And then February got off to, not such a great start with a round of some heavy rain. That, by the way, moved in at like 1 or 2 in the morning. So it was a tough handoff. That's the thing about today being National Weather Person's Day. These are the moments where we sort of earn our living, is that Ramisha Shade had to stay until the handoff to Allison Gargaro. So it was like 2 in the morning. I think she did her last update at like 1:30. And then it's like, here's your microphone. I'm out of here. So those are always hard. It doesn't happen that often, but it's hard. Not fun. So anyway, I I hope that everybody in California is okay. If you have any friends or family out there, definitely call and check on them. And I hope you all have a great week. If you're going to do Mardi Gras, good for you. If you're looking forward to the rodeo, we're already starting to plan where we're going to be going for barbecue cook-off. I heard from my friend Uncle Steve of Uncle Steve's Seasoning, Uncle Steve's Steve's Shake. Oh God, he calls it the Shake. Man, I'm messing it up. Uncle Steve's Shake. Anyway, it's like a really good improved version of Tony Chachere's, So anyway, check it out. You can just look up Uncle Steve online. But anyway, he invited us to go into his tent, so I'm going to try to set up over there because he's a great guy. And that's about it. So everybody take care. Big shout out to my brother, who, by the way, has to, he's got to get a little procedure on his eye coming up here pretty soon. So really, really hoping that everything's going to go okay with that. And I might go down, I'm planning on going down to Florida, actually, to help out. And shout out to my mom, especially for sending me the National Weather Person's Day card. So now I have to go and see who was calling me from Channelview and go chit chat with JD about what's happening in our forecast. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks for tuning in for Mondays with Mike.